Good morning, Grinders. What's going on, y'all? Dean 78904. You want to get all technical on me? It's an early show. It's Monday morning, 11:30 on the East Coast, 8:30 on the West Coast. Good morning, West Coast. 10:30 Tennessee time. Myself and Blender. I was doing the homage. This is Blender's typical intro. Well, I kind of butchered it. He does this on a show when we're not doing regular shows, when there's night games mostly. 11 o'clock, is that correct, Blender?
Yeah, 11 Eastern. So this is a half an hour later. It feels like, I get to sleep in.
Yeah, you sounded a little bit cranky. You sound a little bit tired. I mean,
I'm always tired in the morning. I'm always tired. People think they watch the show. Oh, it's very energetic in the morning, drinking the apple juice and everything. No, typically a minute before I go on air, I'm half asleep.
Apple juice is the chalk? For real?
Well, it used to be coffee, but I don't drink coffee anymore.
You 86 the coffee? You're done with it?
Yeah, well, it upsets my stomach too much.
Oh, fair enough. What is there anything else you like a Monster or Jolt Cola of any sort? Or?
No, carbonated beverage does the same thing. So I drink juice and water now.
You got a fickle system over there, apparently.
Yes, I do. That's why I got to take care of it.
All right. So we were just talking pre-show as far as the slate, kind of sort of sum up, breaking it down. A couple things should be said, I suppose, before we dig in and talk about this baseball slate. The seven inning game is only in play over on DK, the Chicago-Cleveland game. As per usual rules, DK will let those go down. FanDuel usually chops those off. And FanDuel does extend the slate all the way to 5 o'clock, so they're adding the Atlanta Brave game, which, we're probably not going to get lineups on that. Blender, we're going to dive in. We're going to talk about some pitchers. I guess we're not going to go around the horn.
But we just I just found news on Twitter from White Sox beat reporter. Lambert will be starting today's second game for the White Sox release, meaning Rodon will be starting game one.
Okay.
Remember, we have, who knows? Lambert starting one of these games, and we don't know which one. And obviously, the White Sox 7-inning game is on the DK slate, and Rodon will be, according to the rule. If it's Lambert starting the second game, it has to be assumed that Rodon's starting the first.
The gamesmanship from crafty Tony La Russa. He waited as long as possible to give us that news. So the art teams could not appropriately prepare for when Lambert will be throwing baseballs and when Rodon will be throwing baseballs. But if you want to go double barrel on DK, I think Rodon, and we'll talk about Burns in a second, obviously. And I'm curious to get your take. You're somebody that's willing to be goofy and embrace all the variants in baseball. And, it's one of those things where you can go 1 for 9. You can win one slate and lose 9. And you give a big net profit. Just that one time when goofiness happens and you embrace it. That said, it's pretty clear. Corbin Burns, not even a conversation, is a top pitcher on the slate. The price is ridiculous. It's way, way too easy to get him. On DK, it's too easy. On FanDuel, it's too easy. It's just the opportunity cost, the paying up for him a pitcher is nothing outside of like something weird happening. We had this a couple days ago, I suppose, with Garrett Cole. It wasn't spectacular, where Garrett Cole was facing the same team in Detroit. And it's like he was the clear best pitcher in the slate. And he was okay. He wasn't great. He wasn't spectacular, especially by his standards. And you absolutely survived if you faded him. And I think guys like Manaea beat him. But, I'm curious what you're doing with Corbin Burns, because myself, I'm making maybe 5-10 lineups today. I'm having exactly. Well, I think I'm locked in for 5 or 10, depending on what slate I'm on. I don't know how I get away from Burns. Just if he's going to be 60% owned, I'll take him 100%, and I just don't care. Well, how are you handling Corbin Burns today?
I think on this pitching slate, the bat doesn't have a Rodon projection yet, but I'm assuming it's not going to be absurdly good. I mean, it's going to be fine. Burns projects 9 points higher than the next highest pitcher in median fantasy points projected.
And that's DK points. FanDuel obviously.
That's DK, right?
Yeah.
So like Corbin Burns right now is 26.36. The next would be Berrios at 17.7. When you see such a massive gap, understand that if you're not going to play Burns, you're going to be giving up all those points in projection. But remember, it's baseball. It's not basketball. 9 points in basketball is a lot. 9 points in baseball is what? A 2 RBI double. Like if you get a 2 RBI double from anyone else in the batters in your lineup, you've already cut that in half.
It's bigger in pitchers though, isn't it? Like if you separate it by position, or you think of it the same way?
I think of it the same way. I treat the lineup as a whole.
Okay.
So if Burns, the question that you need to have when you build your lineups for GPPs is what is the win condition? So Burns at high ownership, we have him currently projected at 43% owned. I think it'll end up being higher.
Not high enough.
At 9,900 against the Tigers. I mean, come on. I mean, that's the reason why you're playing Burns at 9,900 is playing the Tigers.
What is that price, by the way?
Well, I mean, he doesn't pitch 100 pitches, so like I get it. It's not going to be Trevor Bauer or Jacob deGrom pitching, like 120 pitches. So I get it. But the point is that if he doesn't put up a ceiling, he may not kill you. Like the thing is on this slate, based on the projections, most of the other pitchers are going to get somewhere between 11 and 17 points. I mean, on the entire slate. So like if Burns only puts up 20 and he's still the highest scoring pitcher, you'll still probably don't need him because you just get home runs from other spots in your lineup, get the team that scores 11 runs today and you're fine. Now, if Burns puts up 35, yeah, you're going to be in trouble. But at 60, 70% owned, even at 43% owned, I'm less likely to play him in chalkier lineups. I mean, to me, I'm playing Burns today. I mean, and it's quite possible, like I'm playing 85 lineups on DraftKings. I'm even with the field, maybe. I mean, he'll be in probably half my lineups. But those lineups won't have like Padre stacks. They won't have twin stacks in it. But when one pitcher is 9 points projected higher than everything else, I mean, like, I'm not going to just X him out. I'm not going to X him out. Yeah, I make a lot of risky lineups, but it's clear. Point per dollar wise, he's one of the highest. Raw points wise, he's one of the highest.
Yeah. And
there's no one else to like trust. Like his strikeout ability is the best on the entire slate. I mean, are you going to trust Rich Hill at 8,800 against the Yankees?
No.
At Yankee Stadium, probably not. Eduardo Rodriguez against the Astros in Houston, no. I mean, you have Berrios there. Okay, he's fine. Dylan Bundy's been garbage, right? And then once we get past there, Cueto at 7,500, you're like Johnny Cueto is someone that I want to play today.
Which is an endorsement of Burns, because you don't really want to play Johnny Cueto, do you?
No, I know. I don't play him. No one ever wants to play Johnny Cueto.
Not in the year 2021. The gyrations are cool.
2015, really. He's not. He wasn't.
He used to be spectacular.
He's not a DFS pitcher. He's like a real life good pitcher.
Sure, good ballpark. A lot of he's facing is reasonably weak, especially without Trout, and they're losing their DH. But yeah, I ranked him. I did rankings today, and you got to rank 6 pitchers. I think I put him at number 6, but I think that speaks more to the overall pool of pitchers. And like, if you do decide, say, okay, I'm not going to play Burns. I'm going to be bold. You still have to roster 2 guys. You have to answer the question on DK. You got to roster 2 guys. And I guess Rodon's one of them, kind of a direct pivot. You can also go double barrel, which is something I'm considering. And I don't think it's very hard to play Rodon and Burns. And in cash games, have you run the bat? I haven't ran it just yet. I haven't made any lineups just yet, but in my head, that's what I'm running out there as my main quote unquote cash lineup. Is that what we're looking at? Rodon and Burns together?
No, actually, it's Burns and Gilbert right
Oh,
now. But
yeah.
Rodon doesn't have a projection, so we'll see if that changes. Because
Yeah.
right now, because who knows? Jimmy Lambert was supposed to. Who knows? So they got to update Rodon. But I mean, the Rodon's ceiling is going to be lower today. But I mean, obviously, in a 7-inning game, he has more of a shot to go for a complete game.
I
But
don't care about
Cleveland
that. Do you care
matchup,
about that? That doesn't bother me.
what? The
I
complete
don't need
game?
9 innings out of Rodon to justify. I don't need 8 innings out of Rodon. I don't care if it's a 7-inning game.
No, I
Doesn't
I
bother.
don't necessarily care about his 7-inning game, but the ceiling versus Burns is, to me, I mean, against Burns against the Tigers just screams 12, 13 strikeouts, right?
Yeah.
Against the Indians,
42.5% K rate on the season. And Mitch Rodon, he's at 38.5%. And if you look at everybody else, well, I mean, Tristan McKenzie for Cleveland at 30%. He's been getting rocked though when he's actually getting hit, like 16% barrel. He's got the biggest barrel rate on the slate. Then it's Velasquez and Tyon and Rich Hill and Morton, all like kind of the 20s. Barrios at 27. But yeah, it's pretty clear that Burns and Rodon, and yeah, I guess you're right. Rodon can't go 9, he can't go 8, but there is also the CGSO potential upside, which is increased with a 7-inning game. But like, is there anybody else? You mentioned Bundy. Bundy's velocity dipped his last game pretty like at least over a mile per hour and a half or something like that. And I'm more on the San Fran bats as opposed to Bundy. I don't see him on a roster him. And I guess we'll talk about the sticks obviously soon enough, but I'm still waiting for an official line. We always get, it takes a while to get a line in Wrigley, but there is some wind lurking. Let me refresh Kevin Ross weather edge because I was looking at this pre-show. And if you don't mind, see if you can find a total in that game. I'm curious if we have one. It's only like 3 hours before the game starts, and there's still no total, which is kind of sort of somewhat weird. But in a 104, this actually just changed. The weather changed a little bit. 145 game sample. Is that big enough for you, Blender? 145?
no, it's still not big enough. I want bigger.
You want
I always want
10,000? You want 10,000?
10,000. Yes, we're gonna need that.
You want to pull the Cardi? We're talking about 71 degrees sparse temperature. It's blowing out at 9 miles per hour, which doesn't sound crazy, but under this sample, under these precise conditions, nothing else to say as far as who's pitching and who's hitting, and all the players are robots essentially. Home runs have jumped by 51% at 145 game sample. Runs have jumped by 17%, and the ERA boosted by just short of 21%. So, and also the Cubs, I guess we're seeing a bullpen game out of them. Keegan Thompson, for what it's worth, the Cubs bullpen's been good. I was looking at them pre-show, and they haven't yielded a lot of homers, and they one of the best Sierras in all of baseball. But I still don't think I care, and I like the San Diego side. I think they're one of the more popular teams. And again, we'll talk hitters in a second. But do we have a total there, or is that
I don't
still?
find. No, there is none.
Is that weird? That seems a little weird. I guess
think
we don't really have a
I think it's
pitcher.
more due to the. Are we sure that Keegan Thompson is starting for the bullpen game? Because remember, in sports books, all these odds are tied. The bets are tied to the
First
starting
5.
pitcher, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it has anything to do with the we don't know how much wind there's going to be. I think it's more of that they're not going to accept. Because then I'm looking on not necessarily the legal sites.
Yeah.
I looked at DraftKings sportsbook and they didn't have it. So I'm like, let me take a look at something that's offshore, and they don't have it either. So
I
like,
pulled up Vegas Insider, and normally they give you like a bunch of different books, and there's nothing. they won't.
is the game happening? Is it just a figment of our imagination?
I don't know. Is it? I couldn't tell you. I have no clue. But I would imagine it's a go, and I would imagine the Cubs. Even if Thompson doesn't start, I would imagine he pitches at some point. He's probably not a guy that's going to go particularly deep, even if he throws some baseballs today. And I don't know how much it matters, and he's not good either.
To put things into perspective, taking away the betting lines, the BAT, Derek Hardy's projection system, doesn't take into account Vegas team totals. So it's not part of his projection set. He has the Padres and the Cubs 1 and 2 in total for stacks. Like if you take a 4 or 5 man stack, his stack projections have the Padres and Cubs 1 and 2 in both median points as well as ceiling.
Yeah, I feel like the Cubs might be somewhat ignored, and the Padres are going to be much more popular in that game. And Chris,
well, the Cubs
Chris
are
Paddock,
expensive. The Cubs, you have to go. It's like you're going to Saks Fifth Avenue to buy the Cubs today on DraftKings.
You can make it work though if you really.
Well, of course
you
can make it work. I'm going to tell you how to make it work, but that's the reason they're not going under-owned because, they're in a bad spot. It's just that Jock Peterson is $5,700.
Yeah, which is kind of sort of somewhat weird. And Paddock on the other side is one of those guys that has a bigger name than actual his game. Would you concede that? As far as if you look at his numbers, they're not as good as you think. I mean, 20% K rate in the season. What is that?
Well, he has bad starts. He has bad innings. I think he's an above average pitcher.
And he doesn't go very deep sometimes. And his leash is not very long. And I don't know what San Diego's doing. Yesterday, they brought in
Musgrove.
What was that?
What happened there?
I don't know. What he was supposed to start yesterday.
Right. And they brought him in for 4 innings.
When they were losing by like 5 runs.
Right.
What is that? I don't know. I mean, do they not think he's good? And it was so weird.
Trying to salvage the game, I guess. I have no idea.
What do you mean salvage? They're down by 6 runs or 5 runs. Why would you bring in one of your best pitchers?
I don't know. You have to present to your team that there's hope. If they throw in a position player in the 5th inning, you're basically telling your team, like, we'll just pack it in. There's no point in playing anymore. That's
what I would do, by the way. If my team's down like 10 runs or so, like, have some fun with it at least. Goof around and save your bullpen. Why let you guys get pummeled in a game? It doesn't matter anymore. I would have Williams in studio pitching like 3 times a week, depending on how the game is going. And the unwritten rules of baseball. Why can't I play my position player when I'm up by 20? Why do I have to burn my bullpen because I'm up by 20? I want to throw some fun players out there.
Yeah, why can't you? Why don't teams do that?
Tony La Russa would not approve of that. I'm pretty sure.
Who cares what he thinks? Who cares what he thinks?
Old curmudgeon Tony La Russa.
So the unwritten rules of DFS, if we do that, if before the last game on the slate, if I'm like leading a GPP by 35 points, am I supposed to like what? I'm supposed to put in an injured player in the spot that I have left, just for sportsmanship?
Yes. You can't take a screenshot of it and put it on Twitter because that's frowned upon too.
But that's an unwritten rule?
It's been done before. It's definitely been done before. Oh, I'm going to win this thing. I'm out of PMR and there's 4 games left. Let's ignore that part. Other starting pitchers, if we're not playing Burns, and again, I think I'm playing Burns 100%, just like whatever. We mentioned Rodon. He's only available on DK FanDuel. Of course, you only roster 1 starting pitcher. Who else are you looking at? If we're throwing Burns out, you got to roster 2 dudes. Who's in your pool? Barrios in your pool?
Barrios, yes. Cueto will be in my pool.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, you don't have that much to choose from.
It's not a very appealing.
I like James Kaprielian against Seattle. 9,100 seems just stupid.
That's a weird price. Yeah, I don't like that price, but nobody's going to play him if you want to play that angle.
I mean, you can't. I mean, you're playing him for a medium. He's not really a strikeout pitcher. So I mean, yeah, I know his first start he did well, but I mean, like that his strikeout rate is not above 20%. Seattle strikes out a bunch, but I mean, like 9,100. You're playing someone like that. You're playing Kaprielian at 9,100 or McKenzie at 8,800. Like you're playing those guys for like everyone else to fail. Like, I don't see Kaprielian getting 30 points on this slate. You're playing him because he gets 18 and Burns gets 18. Like, no one goes off for a ton. So, do I include him in my pool? I don't know. Because I don't think I'm playing any Seattle today. So, it's like, it makes me want to feel like, why don't I could throw Kaprielian in a couple of lineups. But it makes no sense.
It could be a 4-3 game and like nobody's worth
more.
anything.
Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Burns is 800 more. So, why don't I just do that? I think this seems very odd to say. The Twins are going to be chalk. Sure. I don't mind Jorge Lopez.
Okay.
I think people think Jorge Lopez is a gas can, and he's not. He's not a good pitcher. Let me just be straight with you. He's not a good pitcher, but he's not as bad as people think he is. If you look at the underlying metrics, so at like no ownership or whatever, 5,800. If I want to play that Cubs stack, like you get the leverage of the fact that the Twins are the highest, probably going to be the highest owned team, and Jorge Lopez. I mean, no one's going to own. I mean, if the Twins fail, Lopez at 5,800 puts up what 14 points, right? I mean, what do I need for that price?
14's fine. If you give me 14 as my SP2, I'm good with that.
Right. So playing Burns Lopez in non-Twins lineups, I don't think is crazy.
22% K rate in the season. You spoke to how he's been a little bit unlucky. 23.7% as far as home in the fly ball. That is unlucky to some extent. It kind of speaks to the ERA being 5.8 and the Sierra 4.3. BABIP's in line, 301. That's basically standard. Left on base percentage, 69.7%. Not exactly that nice. It should be a little bit higher. So there is some unluckiness there, I suppose.
Right, but let me get. He's not been unlucky. He's not a good pitcher. He's just not as bad as people think he is. Like
Sure.
that's a better way of putting it. He's still a bad pitcher.
It's not that's not the quote you want to put in the back of the DVD though. You're not buying the DVD
Do
that says
people
this.
make DVDs anymore? What are we talking
They're probably
about?
available at
2021.
7-Eleven or Costco or something.
No, they're making YouTube videos or some TikToks. That's not what you put in the TikTok. That's what you should be saying.
Like, okay, if you're writing a book, like if somebody you ask a friend for
Books?
quotes,
You write books? People listen to books now.
didn't you
No
do
one
that?
writes
Or
anything
whatever.
anymore.
Doesn't somebody endorse your audio and you wouldn't use the quote that says this is not as terrible as we thought it would be.
Right, but
You
I mean
wouldn't.
that would be on his tops NFT, right? That's what it would be. That's what it would be described as.
Yeah,
He's not horrible, but he's not that good. He's not.
Tyon is interesting, kind of sort of sum up because he does have a decent K rate on the season, right? We're talking about 27.9%, good as far as walk, 6.7% as well. And he's facing a Tampa Bay lineup that is loaded with strikeout guys, power guys too, for sure. But like all or nothing stuff, which it's an interesting, let's get some Rays in some lineups and let's get some Tyon on the other side and just sort of play and embrace the variance. You know, Lowe's got a 27.7% K rate. Arozarena at 27%, Choi at 34%. This is this season specifically. Basically, the only contact guy they've had that's in the lineup today is Diaz. Mike Zunino, like all of his hits are homers, but he strikes out so much. 42% striking out this year versus righties is a massive number. The outlaw Kiermaier at 32%. There's a lot of Ks in this lineup potentially. Tyon also a guy that's not going to go terribly deep, but he probably can get it done in 5 and change. And the price is pretty good. So I think Tyon, 7.3K on DK, he's got to be in your pool, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm always concerned with Tyon just with the innings. Like he needs to give me 5 innings in order to get the win. I think on FanDuel, you don't even. I mean, if you don't play a pitcher on FanDuel on a single pitcher site, that unless you're confident they're going to go 6 innings, you want the quality start points. So like
well, if there's like a core slate and a 7 total and like a 13 total, yeah, but we don't have that. But yeah, go ahead.
But even then there are probably other pitches to play. So
depends,
you don't have to play someone with. I'd play Cueto above him, right on FanDuel, and I don't want to do that. You just play one of the top pitchers on FanDuel. But no, I don't mind Tyon, but I'm not thrilled. He has to be efficient. I probably will have more Rays than I will have Tyon in my pool. But I mean, if you told me Tyon could pitch 100 pitches, then I'm way more interested. But I mean, we've seen like 85 and he's done. And it doesn't and it doesn't even matter like what the score of the game is or how well he could give up 7 runs and they'll still pitch him 85 pitches, right?
Something he can throw 85 pitches and strike out 9 and walk 2 and go 5 in the third.
That pitcher, Dean.
He can do that against his team. He can.
I guess so. Anything could happen.
he's got strike capability and like he's flashed it in the past and you know he's
embracing. But I like the other side. I like the Rays getting the big ballpark upgrade in New York, right? So like I almost feel like I'd rather play the Rays. It's not like Tyon is chalky. If Tyon was like, if let's say Tyon was like 6,200 and he was going to be 35% owned or something like that, then I definitely want to play the Rays in that instance. But it's not like Tyon's 10%. The Rays are going to be like, I don't know, 2 or 3% as a 4 or 5 man stack. It just seems like I get more upside in that scenario playing the 2 or 3% owned Tampa Bay stack than playing the 10% owned pitcher. But I mean, either or. It's one of those. I may have some of both, but it's hard for me to look at Tyon as an upside pitcher. He seems like more of the type of pitcher of, if he puts up 15 points, he wins on a slate where like none of the pitchers, like when Burns puts up 20 and everyone else kind of puts up 12, like none of the pitchers are going to matter. As long as you have 2 pitchers and they equal like 35 points at pitcher, and there are probably going to be 8 of these pitchers that could do that. As long as you have 2 of them, you don't have the one that has like -4. You're like, your lineups are live. I think this is more of a bats slate than a pitcher slate.
What if you don't have Burns and Burns puts up 30 in his own? Because that's certainly in play.
Well, then you need to have him. So that happens. But you're not building all your lineups. Well, if you play, well, if you're lock buttoning Burns, you're playing for that win condition.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like saying something definitively. I don't like speaking definitives in these shows. Like, God forbid, I only play him in like 7 of 8 lineups, and the one lineup I don't play him in crushes, and it's like, you're moving the needle, you're a big liar, or whatever. It's like, but yeah, the plan is for me to have him on every single lineup. We'll see how. Maybe we do a little something with different on FanDuel, but I just don't know. I get away from it on DK. Do you want to say hello to chat? What's up, chat? Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you do like these shows, they are free, keeps the proverbial lights on. What show is not free is one that's following us. For premium members, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth going to give you the most up-to-date update as far as weather. Cheese is good. Dave Potts, 2-time millionaire winner, writer of the Millionaire Musings. He's going to be on the show, as well as Tuttle, taking you guys straight up to lock. Also, that show is free on Fridays, presented by Big Brain. Crunch Time is free every single Friday going forward. If you guys are not aware of Big Brain, it is the merging of HQ Trivia and DFS. You can play trivia contests and win yourself American dollars. Current topics right now that are in the lobby, Blender. You tell me which one of these you'd crush. One-hit wonders, Derek Jeter, love songs.
Jeter, maybe I could do that.
Who is the most overrated shorts? One-hit wonders, Derek Jeter, love songs, college basketball, and Bill Murray movies. What's your favorite Bill Murray movie?
Stripes.
Is that the chalk?
Stripes or Groundhog Day, I guess.
Groundhog Day is the chalky one too. Can I give you? I don't know if it's chalky. Kingpin. You ever see Kingpin?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't put that up there.
Well, you ever get munchied in the middle of nowhere?
No.
Yeah, Stripes. Well, because that's a John Candy movie more than a Bill Murray movie, isn't it?
Well, a lot of them are. I mean, it's not just Bill Murray in a lot of these movies.
Yeah. Well, it's not. Yeah, it's not a one-man show. But the chat's going to tell us their favorite Bill Murray movie. We're going to bring Devin on shortly too, and Devin's going to tell us his favorite Bill Murray movie. I'm curious what Devin has to say. And what is Devin going to come on for? He's going to speak on behalf of the chat. Whatever topics we haven't talked about, it's more of a broad conversation. The way especially when we have Blender on, just sort of like, let's talk about the slate and kind of the angles we're working. We'll get to the sticks more so in a second. But if you don't hear us talk about a certain stack, a certain pitcher, whatever, we're just like, how are you handling X, Y, and Z? How are you building this? Fire away. Devin will compile your question. He's going to join the show in about 10 minutes and ask those questions on your behalf. Bats. I know you don't like to go around the horn. That's like your least favorite thing. It'll probably happen organically as far as the conversation, but you want to talk more in terms of teams and stacks. And, we know the chalky ones. We know the ones that are kind of sort of popping. And again, we still don't have a total just yet as far as San Diego and Chicago. We don't have a pitcher in Chicago just yet, but the weather is looking like, we're seeing a potential Wrigley game, and San Diego, especially like guys like Will Myers, is way, way too cheap. He's going to be super popular. How are you handling the bats in general? Are you taking stands?
Okay, so looking on DraftKings, I'm playing cash on FanDuel, but I'm playing on GPP on DraftKings today. The Twins and the Padres should be the chalk, and rightfully so. I mean, they're the two of the top 5 projected teams. Team totals, stack wise. I mean, for the Twins, it'll be some type of stack of, because you get a catcher in the 5th spot, you get a third baseman, a second baseman. Kirilloff is first and outfield. Cruz is back at 5K, which is kind of cheap for him for his power. So you got the Twins. Now, I'll be under on the Twins. Whatever's chalk, I'm typically under on. Or I'm building, like, my Twins lineups won't have Burns in it, right? Or my Twins I'll have Twins as one-offs. Then we have the Padres.
Just a thought as far as the Twins. Jorge Polanco on FanDuel is 2.5 leading off on the road. Seems like a really strong cash game play. I don't know how much salary savings you need.
The Twins are too cheap on FanDuel. They're probably going to be even more owned on FanDuel. And same for the Yankees on FanDuel are going to be more owned than they are on DraftKings. Padres number 2, as far as, I mean, we're just going by projection. Like, they're the best projected teams. We have Machado back in the lineup. You have Tatis at shortstop. It's a little bit expensive, but you get a break by Will Myers, 3,200. Caratini's a cheap enough catcher at 2,800. Pham at 4,000. You could make that stack work. Then we have the Yankees are going to be a little bit popular. Stanton is underpriced on both sides.
Both sides.
Right. But Stanton's 4,200 on DraftKings. But like the stack is not going to be as owned as you think it is. But I actually respect Rich Hill as a pitcher. I may not be playing him, rostering him today, but I think that Yankees are going to be slightly over-owned, but they're not in a bad spot or anything. But it's kind of a wash-down lineup. Like once you get LeMahieu, Stanton, Judge, Urshela, Torres, and then you get Odor, lefty, then Andujar, Higgs, and Gardner. Like I'd much rather have seen like Clint Frazier in there, or something like that, or Gary
Gardner's
Sanchez.
so
Right, but you got that. The Reds will get ownership today. Winker's out of the lineup, which now makes the stack cheaper against Velasquez. So obviously Suarez at third base. Tyler Stevenson is catcher eligible, 3,100 batting cleanup. Max Schrock, who's not good, but he's 2K, second and third base eligible, batting fifth. So like this stack is going to probably be a little over-owned also, because you could just make so many combos with it. And then outside of that, really, you could go anywhere. Because according to our ownership, we have the Twins, the Reds, the Padres, the Yankees. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we get in the middle zone, like the Red Sox, the Astros, the Phillies, the Mariners, the Athletics, the Giants, kind of that range. The problem with the Red Sox and the Astros is that most likely, we're not going to know who's in their lineup. I mean, that game's at 4:10.
Also, two pretty good pitchers.
Yeah, Erod versus Urquidy, right? Neither of the pitchers are really going to be owned.
No.
But I mean, the total's 9. I mean, I like that game. I like the Giants against Bundy. The problem is that these are 4:05 and 4:10 games, and you're basically building your lineups, and we're not going to get these lineups before 1:05. I mean, like it's just not typically DraftKings and FanDuel. I mean, the FanDuel has the Nationals Braves game at 5:10. We're definitely not getting that.
Freddie Freeman's like 3-7 on FanDuel versus Joe Ross. He seems like one of the best plays in the slate, one of the best spend ups in the slate. And I'm assuming he's going to play.
The Braves are cheap on FanDuel, but the typically we don't get those games on a slate like this because they'll, like on a Sunday, they'll make this the afternoon slate. But apparently for Memorial Day, they just like, okay, everyone's playing. We're not going to bother making secondary slates. So just if you're rostering any of those 4 or 5 games, just be aware that you're gonna most likely gonna have to late swap, because I mean we have on Boston Danny Santana at 2,500. I mean the Boston stack is, you could find cheap pieces. Verdugo's batting second, 3,300, but I mean these guys may not be in the lineup. Renfroe at 3,000. Who knows how what lineup they trot out today. And same for the Astros. Is Jordan Alvarez going to be in the lineup? I know it's lefty, but I don't care with Alvarez. It doesn't matter to me. His reverse splits. Alvarez and Ohtani are two guys that lefty doesn't really matter to me. Their power against both is perfect. Their ISO is perfectly fine. But that's to me that's my main concern. But also understand that everyone else has that concern also. Which means
Erod's also like a neutral pitcher for what it's worth. Like he's not
right. But what I'm talking about, Dean, is that these lineups will not come out most likely before 105, which means people may not play them because of that. So the ownership on these players may actually go down because people are like, I don't know about putting in lineups or whatever. And then people make the lineups and then they don't switch out people. So like I may be playing more of the Giants, the Red Sox, and the Astros. Maybe some of the Mariners against, I don't know, that Oakland Mariners game. Like, I don't like anything about it. Like Logan Gilbert, I guess you could play at 5,100.
I like Olsen.
But I mean, do you need him? I mean, like, do you
probably not?
Right. It's just the bats in this game just look like if I don't get the lineup, I don't think I'm going to be all that upset.
The 7-inning game on DK, we talked about this briefly during the show. It sounds like you're not in on that at all from a hitting perspective. You're Xing everybody out. If
7-inning games beat me, they beat me.
That's
on a shorter slate. If this was a 4-game slate and one of the games was a 7-inning game, and it's like, can I take one-offs from them? I'd be like, okay, but it's a 9-game slate. There's 18. There's between after these two, there's 16 teams to choose from. Why am I taking teams like, especially the Indians? Well, number one, they're against Rodon. And if your stack does well, they're most likely ahead, which means now they only get 6 innings of at-bats.
Yeah.
Like we're playing DFS. We're not playing who's going to win in real life. So like I want as many plate opportunities as possible. And in a 7-inning game, you're essentially knocking out one at bat from nearly everyone in the lineup.
You're signing up for every one of your players to be pinch hit for.
Right, exactly. We got news, Dean.
Uh-oh.
Cubs have listed the starter as Cole Stewart.
Cole, is that a person? Did they just create him?
Who's Cole Stewart? And it's spelled like the store.
Kohl?
Yes.
Does he pitch like the store?
Probably.
Oh,
is he a reliever? Is he?
I believe, yeah, I think he's just an opener. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Stewart was called up. Is he has no stats? I don't see any stats on him for this season at least. All right. Well, we'll dig into Cole Stewart in a second. That's not going to change.
We do have a Cubs lineup, and Rizzo is not in the Cubs lineup.
Ah, okay, that's interesting. Run
Rizzo,
it off.
maybe he went to Coles.
You more of a Ross guy, dress for less?
Okay, no, I was confusing Coles and Lowe's. I was like, Coles, it's kind of like the hardware place. No, Coles is more like Bed Bath and Beyond, right? Are they owned by the same company?
I don't think so. Bed Bath and Beyond is, Coles is strictly clothes. Well, no, I think Coles is like housewares too.
Yeah, Coles has housewares, definitely.
Is housewares a term? Is that a thing?
Yeah, yes, of course it is.
Okay,
Where's your house?
I was doubting myself for some reason. Is Jock's leading off? Jock and Bryant and Baez, is that 1 through 3?
Yeah, Happ is 4th, Contreras, Ortega, Wisdom, Sogard, Stewart.
Ugh. Yaz is nobody's gonna play him. I don't like Bundy. I like that San Francisco side in this game more than the Angel side. And Dickerson's pretty interesting just because he's super cheap. He's 3K on DK. He's like 2-1 or 2-2 on FanDuel. Like you said before, with the other teams, you don't really know who's gonna be in that lineup, but I presume Yaz will be 1. Dickerson will be, top 3. Kind of sort of somewhat interesting. Not priorities, but if they kind of fill in stuff and make stuff work. Second base on DK, just a general thought, is bad. So I'm okay punting it. You sort of referenced one of the guys. If Schrock makes everything work for me, I'll play me some Schrock. If I have a little bit more money, I'll play some Taylor Walls, who comes with some pedigree there for Tampa at 2.6K. Otherwise, like nobody's really a great dollar for dollar play DK specific. I like Cronenworth, but much more on FanDuel where he's like 2.7 as opposed to 4.7 on DK. Anything else that we need to touch on specifically as far as hitters, or shall we just open it up to the chat and Devin can compile their questions and they'll clean up whatever we missed?
Sounds good to me.
Devin, are you with us?
Well, now I am.
Devin, what's your favorite Bill Murray movie? Are you a Little Bob guy?
We had a lot of suggestions in chat, and I'm glad this one came up. Frederick, man after my heart, brought in Ghostbusters. That was not mentioned. Ghostbusters, yes.
Okay. Someone mentioned Caddyshack
too.
Caddyshack's not a Bill Murray movie.
Caddyshack was thrown in there. We had a bunch of them. We read it. Let's see. Miami Mike said, "What about Bob?" Daniel agreed with Groundhog Day. Brian and Matthew said Caddyshack. Roger Kingpin, friend of the show.
Caddyshack's an ensemble movie. That's not a Bill Murray movie.
Yeah. I saw a list of like best comedies of like what's 2000s or whatever, and it had Lost in Translation. That's a good movie, but that's not a comedy. I wouldn't call that a comedy.
No.
Yeah, I don't just
because they're a funny part.
The list just tries to tell people, and it worked. They got me. I got.
We had some GPP options too. Alex said Scrooged for Leverage. T says Spy Who Knew Too Little, and Space Jam as well. Another one that going under the radar.
Vehicle. That's not. I've never seen Space Jam.
Calling it a Bugs Bunny vehicle.
Jordan, I don't know. Is anybody gonna watch the new LeBron Space? Does anybody care? I don't really care for Space Jam. I don't think.
I'm sure I'll get hyped for it when it comes out, but I'm of the mindset now that I'll just wait till it comes out on Netflix.
Well, I feel like it's gonna be one of those straight to HBO Max deals. I could be wrong.
Oh darn!
But, yeah,
you mean I'm stuck on the couch, Dean?
Oh yeah, I know.
Come on.
Hey, did you watch the Mayor of Easttown?
Somebody actually was asking if it said no spoilers. Michael asked, but did Dean like the ending of it?
Yeah, it was really good. I won't spoil it for anybody. I highly recommend it. Have you seen it, Blender, or no? You care for this stuff?
What are we talking about?
I've never heard of this.
I'm focusing on baseball.
Have you heard of the home box office, the HBO Mayor of Easttown?
Yes, I've heard of HBO. Yes.
Yeah, it's recommended. Go ahead and watch it. It's one of the better series that they've pumped out recently.
Mares of East. Is it about horses?
It is not. It's about a woman named Mare. Well, no, that's not. I mean, she's the main character. I wasn't sure what Mare meant either, but yeah, it's not about fillies and mares. It's not a racing. It's not a gambling show. Like, Luck. Remember Luck on HBO? They kept killing horses, so they had to cancel the show. With Dustin Hoffman, it's like one season. Let's talk some baseball.
Travis in chat, Garfield, best Murray movie. I can't even get through it, say it with a straight face.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have a ton of actual slate questions, so keep dropping those questions in chat, and we'll get to them here in a moment. But Michael was saying RG percentage owned on Vincent Velasquez is 22% on DK. We didn't really touch on him as any sort of a chalk option, but that seems pretty high, no?
That seems high to me.
Do you think that may go down?
Play two pitchers on DraftKings. I think it's more like that's why I think more of this ownership is going towards Burns.
And
it's just going to push everyone else down. Now Rodon's going to be in there somewhere. I can see Velasquez maybe not being 22% owned, but being 14. Paddock being somewhere in the low teens. Only because you have to play two on FanDuel, you don't have to worry about that.
Well, you got to play two, and there's only one that's comfortable, and everybody's just going to be like, "Guys, screw it." I mean, I'm just going to play Burns, and that's why I think it goes above 43. Besides the fact the price is goofy, the matchup is good, and all that, but there's not a second guy you even feel good about. So you got to fade him twice. It's not fading him once. You got to fade him 2 times. And look at the list: Gilbert, Velasquez, Paddock, Barrios, Tyon, Bundy.
Yeah, but I think these guys will get more ownership. Like we have Barrios at 11%. I think he'll be more like 18%. I think Cueto will be. We have Cueto at 5. I think he'll be more like 12. But Bundy will still get some ownership. I mean, we have him at 8. I think that makes sense. Rich Hill won't be 1% owned. People will game log watch. He'll be 6-7% owned. Same for Caprellian. He'll be 6-7%. I mean, because you have to play 2 pitchers. I mean, so these pitchers have to get ownership somehow. You can't just play Corbin Burns and Corbin Burns in your lineup.
It has to equal 200%, is my understanding. I'm not a math major, but yeah, it's Burns is going to be like at least 50. I think that's a little bit low. Well, obviously, our ownership stuff, it becomes more and more refined the closer we get to lock, but I suspect that's going to go up higher than 43. And I don't care. Whatever it is, I'm going to be over. Whatever the number is, I will have more. Nobody will have more ownership percentage of Burns than I will tonight on DK. That's the anticipation. All right, what else you got for us, Devin?
Good bit of games on today's slate. You love seeing chalkiness on a big slate. Buster wanted to know vomit stack of the night. Blender, do you have one ready?
It's vomit. This season is not the season of the vomit stacks. It's actually the season of the expensive stacks. The diamond stacks.
I was going to say, what would that be, like the ribeye stack of the night?
Right. I think I call them diamond stacks. Only because we get so many these little cheap one-offs on DraftKings that, like, you could pay up twice at pitcher. Like, the whole point of the vomit stack is not the vomit stack. It's that you get, you're spending $21,000 at pitcher and getting 2 35 to 40 point scores. And then as long as your vomit stack puts up 8 runs, you win the GPP. So, like, to me, this season is more the opposite. So, like, to me, my diamond stack is the Cubs, right? I'm looking, they have the second highest ceiling projection in the bat. They're overpriced for their median, but for their ceiling, they're fine. So, I mean, if you could probably get Burns and still play the Cubs. And if you don't play, I mean, the Cubs are going to be low enough owned that you could play Burns in those lineups. So to me, the diamond stack of the day is the Cubs.
I know you dig in more in the results DB than I do, but it was my understanding, or it's my impression, this is more also the year of the home run hunting and like the 3-3-2s and not necessarily full stacks. Has that been how it's played out so far, or is that a wrong assumption by me?
Nope. If you run a sim on using whatever projection source you're using or whatever, still 5-man stacks.
That's the leverage.
Still plus EV. Still the highest. Sorry.
They said it couldn't be done.
They said it couldn't be done. You're more in line on smaller slates though. On smaller slates, that effect is much less. So I get the one. You want to play that 2-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1.
That's not what I'm not. Now you're taking it. Now you're getting silly.
Got to get that 10%.
The 1-1-1-1-1-1 stack that nobody's gonna.
As long as you're throwing the 2 in there, you get 2 people.
Well, you gotta. One team's gonna go off at least.
We touched on this a minute ago. Ryan was wanting to know, are the Cubs going to be overowned? And you, Blender, you said you don't think so.
No, I think they're going to be underowned.
There we go.
Nobody's looking at Jock Peterson and saying, "Oh, 5.7K,
Right.
lock and
No
load."
one's doing that. These guys are not going to project well median-wise, and it's going to be very hard to play pitch. You're going to have to be uncomfortable at pitcher in order to play that stack. So, like, I want to do the stuff that's uncomfortable, so I'm doing it.
Well, just pulling up the weather edge again. This definitely looks like one of those Wrigley win games you always hear about.
Well, it's not that. It's 9 miles an hour.
Well, that's the thing is, like, you wouldn't think so, but like the Weather Edge is telling us there's been some big games in a 150 game sample. So, like,
Well, also
I'm
the bat is
surprised the numbers
telling us,
something like
Dean.
that. Yeah,
I mean, Derek Carty includes the weather into his projections, and if he's saying, I mean, based on, I'll reload the stack projections. So this is for a 5-man on DK, on average, ceiling wise. So just if you added up ceiling wise, San Diego Padres 94.64, Chicago Cubs 89.17. The next best is the Brewers at 84.49. Then we get the Red Sox at 84, Twins at 80. So Twins are going to be chalk. Their ceiling, according to the bat, is 83. And on this slate, it would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th highest. Yet the Padres and the Cubs are like 5 points higher than that.
I
That's
found one
primarily
line.
due to the wind. I mean, that's typically why.
I found one line for that game at Circa Sportsbook. Circa, the new, this is the new, casino down there in downtown Vegas with the nice pool view and the good times. 10. We're looking at 10 and San Diego minus 154, which in my brain means San Diego's probably like a 5.7 team total, something like that. Is that about right?
Maybe 5.5 to 4.5.
Whatever it is. Yeah, it's the biggest team total on the board by like at least a half a point at least. There you go.
Let's see. Roger wanted to know, what about the Oakland lineup? Seattle has a gas can on the mound. You stacking them
It's
up?
not a gas can. Logan Gilbert isn't a gas can. He's a rookie.
He's an unfinished
How
product.
many 3
He's
starts
not
and he's a
refined.
gas can? How
What have you done for me today?
He hasn't been spectacular. He comes with promise. It's he's definitely good. He's going to be better. But he hasn't been a gas can yet. I wouldn't say that. He's been okay.
It takes you a couple of seasons to be referred to as a gas can. Matt Harvey's a gas can.
You got to earn that label.
I mean, even that, like Bundy was a gas can for a while, and now he's crushing this year. So
Lucas Giolito was the worst pitcher in baseball, like literally the worst pitcher in baseball, like 2 years ago. So, and he was also a top prospect, a first round pick, if I'm not mistaken, maybe top 5. And these guys can turn things around. So
yeah, but I get what this dude is saying. If Gilbert's going to be 30% owned or whatever, Oakland makes sense as a leverage stack.
I agree with that.
Let's see. Favorite Cubs batters, Ryan asks.
Favorite? There's no favorites. Play the whole team.
Whoever's lowest owned, right? The wraparound stack.
You like Eric Sogard?
Jock Peterson. I'm paying up for Jock Peterson.
Eric Sogard and Chris Bryant are your kids. You're saying you love your kids equally?
Well, they're different priced kids. Bryant is an expensive kid. He has expensive taste.
We're losing the analogy.
Well, you have to like that. You have to like some more than the other ones. I understand there's variants.
This kid's really expensive.
Yeah, Sogard's a pest.
Brian wants to know Philly power righties. You playing any of them?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? We haven't talked about Rhys Hoskins, but like for sure, Rhys Hoskins is an interesting play today. JT Realmuto probably not going to get paid up for either. Nobody really wants to spend up a catcher. He's got a reasonable price on FanDuel, but who plays catchers on FanDuel? Odubel Herrera leading off is kind of weird. With that, obviously Bryce Harper is a big absence in that lineup. They moved McCutchen down as well. Baum's been, he hits the ball hard, but he's been unlucky, I guess. Disappointing so far, but like if you look at the Statcast stuff, he does hit the ball hard. But it's a good ballpark for homers in Cincy. Outside of that, it's not a great ballpark for what it's worth. It's fine, but it's just good for homers. We like homers. I think I'm mostly ignoring Philly, and maybe that's a mistake. And you're running out more lineups than I am. What are you doing with them?
I'll have some Philly. Just that for their prices, I'd rather have the Cubs. Segura's 48, Hoskins 5,000, Realmuto 5,100, McCutchen 4,600. I mean, does he have the lefties in there? Do you want to play lefties against Miley? I guess it doesn't matter if you're playing in a stack. But at 4,000, 3,600, like they're okay. I likely will have some Philly stacks, but I mean they're gonna be higher. It's likely they're gonna be higher on than the Cubs. The Cubs stack as a stack in general. So if the Cubs are projected better and lower owned, why wouldn't I want to just play more of them?
You like Milwaukee at all?
Yes.
Yelich, I think they're kind of interesting. Abasail
I'm
Garcia.
interested. If you're gonna for the price, I actually think I mean I think they're the best stack on the slate against the Tigers. They're throwing out a lefty. Remember, the Brewers are a high strikeout team, but it's more against righties than against lefties. They're going to be having, they have Adames now batting second. Garcia, Kane. I mean, here is horrible, but at least he's facing Tyler Alexander, who's not a strikeout pitcher. He's a lefty, and the Tigers' bullpen is awful. So if they can knock Alexander out of this game 3 innings in.
Well, he's also, he's not going to go deep no matter what, because he threw 0.2 innings in the 25th. 7 pitches, 15 pitches before that on the 22nd. He's not fully stretched out, so most likely you're going to get a righty coming in. I think off the top of my head, I feel like they have 4 lefties in the bullpen. But, yeah, I wouldn't let the lefty-righty stuff mess with me at all as far as the Milwaukee side, because you're going to get a mixed bag for sure. Will you play Keston Hiura? Do you love Keston Hiura if it's just as much as your child, Christian Yelich? Because Hiura's been terrible.
Well, Yelich has been terrible.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Not exactly a plus on either side there.
both the kids are in the naughty chair. They've both been awful.
Well, let's we got at the end of the show here, Dean, but let's end with this one from T. Asks, who's your guy? We'll get one from each of you, other than Jock Peterson.
My guy.
You gotta take a stand. I'll just say, here, I'll be reasonable and just factor in salary. Will Myers is 2.2 on FanDuel. He's like 3K on DK. He's one of my foundation pieces, I think, in that Coors game. I know he's hit a couple homers his last 2 games. I'm not chasing that nonsense. Good for him. He's banging out some homers. But just he seems too cheap for what his potential upside is today, and he kind of makes things work for me. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, my guy is Fernando Tatis. Duh.
No, that's what I'm going to say. That's exactly what I was going to say. Highest raw point projection player.
That's hell of an insight. Fernando Tatis is good at base. But
really twisting your arm here.
That's exactly you. Literally, you're like you were going to say what, and I'm going to say Tatis. Why not?
Well, that's a cheat code. You also.
Well, you asked me for my guy. There's my guy.
Well, there you go. Devin, do you have a guy for the people? We never asked
I don't know. I usually get my work done after these shows are done. In the last 20 minutes before Slate locks, that's when I do my lineups.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're doing them as crunch time is going on, I imagine, as you're producing. We do ask you to like, subscribe, turn on notifications if you guys are premium members. Crunch time is right around the corner. You got Dave Potts, Cheese is good. You got Mr. Tuttle, you got Roth talking about weather, if anything weather-wise is going down. If you guys are not premium members, you can get yourself $10 off the first month, a la carte, just one sport. If you just want baseball, that's cool. We're going to go ahead and drop a link in chat for you guys to sign up. Or you get all the sports, everything, football around the corner, both college and the NFL, and there's esports, all that good stuff, hockey. With the exception of NASCAR, you get yourself $10 off as well there. Big Brain, that contest is going down on Friday. $50. Deposit $50, get $50 matched automatically with free crunch time on Friday. That's it. We got to go. We got to step aside because we're up against the clock. That was Blunder. That was Devin. That was Dean. This was baseball. We're out of here. Holler!